Grand Fork, a city shrouded in weary nostalgia, bore the scars of time and progress, revealing itself through the quiet bustle of its streets, the creak of its aging infrastructure, and the hushed conversations of its denizens. It was here that Aaron found his purpose. A seasoned private investigator, he was a moth to the flame of the city's mysteries, drawn to its darkest corners with an unwavering resolve. His past, a tumultuous sea of trauma, echoed in the silence of his quiet apartment, in the stale taste of forgotten coffee, in the restless sheets of his seldom-used bed. His newest challenge was the local homeless shelter, a nondescript, weather-beaten building on the outskirts of town. On the surface, it was a haven for the city's downtrodden, but underneath it whispered stories of disappearing individuals, clandestine meetings, and slave traders operating under the cover of charitable deeds. Aaron's exploration started subtly, his practiced mannerisms sinking him deep into the rhythm of shelter life. He listened with a keen ear and a sympathetic smile to the recollections of weather-beaten faces, found camaraderie in their shared hardship, their resilience resonating with his own battle against the PTSD-induced phantoms that haunted his waking hours. "You know, it's peculiar," murmured a bearded man called Edgar one night, his gruff voice a whisper against the pattering rain on the shelter's worn-out roof. "Folks check in, but they don't all check out." Aaron furrowed his brows, feigning ignorance while his heart pounded with the thrill of discovery. "What do you mean, Edgar?" His companion looked at him, his eyes a maelstrom of fear and uncertainty. "I mean, people go missing, Aaron, vanish without a trace, and no one seems to care." Their conversation was a seed, sowing the first tangible thread of a twisted narrative. As he delved deeper, he found more fragments of the cryptic puzzle in hushed conversations, clandestine meetings under the cloak of night, and whispers of fear that spoke volumes about the true nature of the shelter. Yet for each nightmarish revelation, he found a measure of strength. His trauma, his struggle against the chilling specter of PTSD, honed his resolve to a razor's edge, pushing him further into the abyss, driven by an insatiable hunger for justice. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced with his own internal darkness, he realized that he was standing on the precipice of an unfathomable abyss. The shelter was no mere refuge. It was a Pandora's box, teeming with malevolent secrets that threatened to plunge the city into an abyss of cosmic horror. His grim determination reflected in the dying embers of the day as he was faced with a chilling realization. The echoes of the past were not mere reverberations of bygone days. They were the ominous drumbeats of an approaching storm. The insidious whispers of Grand Fork were about to crescendo into a symphony of cosmic horror, a chilling prelude to the monstrous revelations yet to come. Beneath the deceptive ordinariness of the homeless shelter, a vile metamorphosis was underway. Its crumbling walls and sagging ceilings were a labyrinthine cocoon, a chrysalis for a cult that feasted on human flesh and enjoyed in the warmth of human suffering. Aaron, the persistent moth, was drawn further into this web of deception. His investigation became an obsession, casting a long shadow over his every waking moment, the echoes of the shelter bleeding into his dreams, tainting the serene haven of his sleep with its grotesque visage. His days blurred into an endless loop of surveilling, eavesdropping, and investigating. He exchanged tales with the shelter's residents, their whispered stories of missing compatriots and midnight happenings chipping away at the charitable facade of the shelter. Their fear painted a horrifying picture, one of an invisible enemy lurking in the shadows. One late evening, he discovered a clandestine congregation in the basement of the shelter. Hidden behind a row of rusty lockers, beneath the chipped paint and years of accumulated dust, was a concealed doorway. The trembling flame of his lighter revealed an unsettling tableau, an underground chamber bathed in an otherworldly glow, strewn with cryptic symbols and eerie, unidentifiable artifacts. As he descended further into the cult's den, he discovered their unholy communion, a grotesque feast that served as their initiation rite. The horrifying revelation of cannibalism marked a turn in the tale, a twist in the labyrinth that hinted at the eldritch horror seeping into the veins of the city. His every discovery was a sharp stab at his sanity, his nightmares reflecting the grim reality he was unearthing. His PTSD, an ever-looming specter, began to intermingle with his experiences at the shelter, creating a terrifying tapestry of trauma and terror. But with each chilling revelation, his determination steeled. He had walked into the heart of darkness, and he was not going to back down, not when the very soul of Grand Fork was at stake. He was standing tall amidst the swirling tempest of cosmic horror, preparing to navigate the narrow precipice between his sanity and his commitment to the pursuit of truth. As Aaron tread deeper into the nightmarish labyrinth of the cult, the line between his realities blurred. His once black and white world now smeared into a disconcerting gray, his waking hours an echo of the horrors he unearths within the shelter's bowels, his nights an endless descent into a feverish hell. The whispers of the cult grew louder, their cadence intertwining with the rhythm of his heart, a haunting symphony of dread that throbbed within him. One dreary evening, beneath the flickering glow of a dying street lamp, he found himself face to face with the puppeteer behind the city's unseen horror, the charismatic and elusive leader of the cult. His piercing gaze was as unnerving as the offer he extended in a chillingly composed tone. "Aaron," he began, a twisted smile playing on his lips, "our path is not for the faint-hearted, but for those who seek to wield true power. Join us, embrace our communion, and together we will reshape the world." His proposition was as seductive as it was horrifying, a Faustian bargain that promised power at the cost of one's soul. The cult leader's words hung in the air like a toxic miasma that threatened to suffocate his sense of justice. His heart pounded with a desperate primal fear, yet his mind whirled with the potent allure of the offer. Could he use their power against them to achieve his dream of a better world? He was caught in the throes of a psychological tug-of-war, his commitment to justice clashing violently with the lure of the cult's promise. His own trauma resurfaced, amplifying his internal conflict, the ghost of his past adding fuel to the flame of his internal turmoil. "Think about it," the cult leader's voice echoed as he slinked back into the shadows, leaving Aaron in the wake of his unnerving proposition. As he stood alone under the dim light of the street lamp, his thoughts a vortex of fear, temptation, and a creeping sense of dread, the terrifying reality of his situation sank in. He had ventured into the heart of cosmic horror, becoming a player in the sinister game that was unfolding in the underbelly of Grand Fork. His fate was teetering on the edge of a knife, and his next step could either save him or doom him forever. His silhouette writhed against the flickering street lamp, painting a portrait of a man ensnared by cosmic horror. His fate, once in his hands, was now at the mercy of the impending storm. In the shadowed heart of Grand Fork, beneath the decrepit veneer of the shelter and the unearthly glow of the cult's chamber, Aaron stood at the crossroads of his destiny. His heart was a field of battle, his sense of justice clashing with the intoxicating allure of power, his trauma whispering a chilling symphony of doubt and dread. The cult leader, an embodiment of the darkness that shrouded the city, awaited his decision with a predator's patience. His smile, a grotesque mask of anticipation, was a grim reflection of the monstrous reality Aaron had uncovered. In this decisive moment, he found himself drawn not towards the familiar beacon of justice, but towards the unknown abyss of power. The allure of creating a better world, no matter the cost, was a siren's call he could no longer resist. "I accept," he declared, his voice echoing within the confines of the chamber, a pledge sealed in the bowels of cosmic horror. His acceptance was met with a disturbing fanfare, the cult's joyous cries echoing in the chamber, an unholy symphony that celebrated the birth of a new acolyte. It was a chilling initiation, a transformation that was as horrifying as it was captivating. The once righteous detective was now an agent of darkness, his desires twisted into a grotesque parody by the very power he sought to wield. Days melted into nights, each passing moment steeped in an all-consuming power. He began to lose himself in the cult's rituals, his identity eroding beneath the relentless tide of their unholy communion. His once selfless motives were now shrouded in ambiguity, his quest for justice reduced to a distant echo, drowned out by the deafening roar of power. Edgar, the companion who had stood by him through his investigation, was the final sacrifice that cemented his descent into the abyss. His pleading eyes and trembling voice were an agonizing reminder of his former self, a mirror reflecting the monstrous transformation he had undergone. As he stood over Edgar, his lifeblood seeping into the cold, unfeeling floor of the chamber, he realized that he had not only accepted the darkness, but had become a part of it. His tale ended not with a triumphant victory, but with the harrowing transformation of a selfless detective into an unwilling pawn of cosmic horror. In the end, Grand Fork remained under the cover of the night, its silent streets a grim testament to the cosmic horror that lurked beneath its surface. Aaron, once a beacon of justice, was now consumed by the very darkness he sought to eradicate. His journey a chilling cautionary tale in the annals of cosmic horror. The tale of a man who dared to confront the abyss only to find himself irrevocably drawn into its eldritch depths. We appreciate you tuning in. If you fancied the content, show your support with a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to keep up with our eerie adventures. Eldritch Tales Factory has plenty more to offer. Until next time.